Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I work with a lot of individuals with attachment wounds. I work with a lot of avoidant attachment individuals, both dismissive and fearful. I tend to work with, if they are fearful avoidant, they usually are leaning more dismissively avoidant, but I also work with secure individuals. I also work with individuals who are more anxiously attached. And so I do see a lot of different lives. I work with couples, I work with individuals, and sometimes I work with families. So sometimes my examples will have a more family-oriented, family systems approach. But today, I wanted to go over a pattern that I notice. And before I do, I want to disclaim, every individual is different. And so this doesn't necessarily mean if your partner doesn't fit this category or you don't fit this category, that your partner is not going to choose you. And so the category and the topic that I wanted to discuss today is who avoidants choose to love, choose to commit to. And why I use the word choose is because I believe love, consistent love, is more of a choice than a feeling. I think it's a combination, but I think choosing is a very important part of it, right? And when I see a lot of my patients who are avoidantly attached and the partners that they have decided to change for or commit to, not always does it necessarily mean, it's like a lot of it could be a timing reason. So that's something that you can't really control. But there are different personalities that I notice. And a lot of my patients who are avoidantly attached, their partners tend to have more similar personalities than, like, I don't know how to explain that, but I noticed that. They tend to pick similar partners. And so I wanted to share this so that maybe if there are some traits that you guys have, you could nurture that in yourself. But also, you could be aware of maybe some of the things that you can kind of, some attributes of yourself that you want to contribute more to the relationship. Things that you want to do to help your partner see you for who you are and possibly better yourself. Because maybe some of these traits you feel like, okay, that might help me as well as my partner. So this is not to manipulate your partner. That's not the goal. My goal is to help couples who want to make their relationship work and stay together and find ways to connect. The best way to heal a relationship is to stay together and make it work whatever way that you can. It's not always easy, right? And so I wanted to discuss patterns of the partners of the avoidant patient, their partners who they choose to be their companion. Usually this person eventually commits to their partner and admits to love as long as the relationship continues and there aren't many barriers, right? So this first reason, or this first trait that I notice with their partners, is not even a personality trait, which means that any person can add this to their life. It doesn't suddenly make them a different person. And a lot of these are like that, which means a lot of these things you can contribute and add to the relationship, and you could add this to yourself, if that makes sense. So it is that you make the avoidance life easier. So I'm going to try and explain that. Basically, avoidants are very practical people. They're very logical. They tend to be more structured. Unfortunately, it can come across very rigid. And so they look at love and relationships slightly more transactional than other attachment styles, right? So more of a transactional approach rather than a strongly emotional oriented approach, if that makes sense. So what does that mean? Makes their partner's life easier. Let me try and explain that based on some examples that I've seen with my patients. So the first one, and actually a lot of avoidant partners tell me this like verbatim. They say something along the lines of that their partner's able to take care of themselves. And usually when they say that, I ask them, elaborate what you mean. And usually I find that it's a combination of they're able to take care of themselves mentally, physically, and sometimes, commonly with avoidance, financially. And why is this the case? Why do they want all three of these attributes to be at least somewhere functioning and fundamental for the individual? Because avoidants, they don't want to be taken advantage of. They have that fear. So if you can't handle yourself mentally, physically, or even financially, the avoidant is afraid that you're going to ask them to do it. And they already are taking care of themselves. And they've worked really hard to master that type of independence. So somewhere inside, they expect you to do the same thing. So by you not being able to do those things, and this might be a little triggering, and I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. Of course I may, and I respect that, and I understand that. But I want to be honest with you guys. If you're not able to do some of these things, an avoidant individual feels like you're going to end up leaning on them, and that can make them pull away. So avoidant individuals really like that you're able to take care of themselves, whatever way they describe it, which is typically mentally, physically, and sometimes financially. Right? The next one is you are able to manage your feelings and express them directly without accusatory language. So, what do you think that means? So here's how I take it when my avoidant patients say that, and also what I observe. You can still say how you feel, but you don't make it about your partner. And you also take accountability of possibly your perception of the matter. You understand that it's a feeling. It might not be reality necessarily. If you say let's say a person is having an argument, and let's say it's an anxious preoccupied, and I'm not saying that all anxious preoccupied are doing this, just a lot of anxious preoccupied are with avoidance, and they say something like, you're broken, this is, you're so difficult, you're broken, you don't care. That does not express your feelings at all. I don't know about you, but I didn't understand what's the feeling. I imagine, only because I'm a therapist, I'm imagining that you're feeling unloved and you're feeling misheard. Possibly you're feeling dismissed, right? But avoidant individuals might not pick that up. What do you think they're hearing? They might hear that you're just insulting them. And then you get more frustrated because they didn't respond to you. And that's just confusing for them because they have no idea. So they shut down because they're like, okay, this person is just insulting me. What do I get out of this? And they may pull away. And so why did I bring that to you? Avoidant individuals, when I said they like individuals who make their life easier, it's really hard for them to have to jump these emotional hoops to figure out what you're saying. It makes their life a lot easier when you're able to express your feelings directly. It makes their life easier. It probably makes your life easier for that to happen without accusing them. I understand sometimes it happens. I get that. But continuously, they will get very stressed out. That's not worth it for them. Love in general is not really something they're really looking for. And so if there's all these negative things going on, they're likely not thinking that this is valuable to them. They don't think it's a positive experience for them. They might not want it at all. And so it's really important to realize that you as a partner, by you making their life easier, they realize, right, because they're from a practical transactional standpoint, this is probably valuable. I'm going to keep this in my life. I'm going to somehow keep it and work to continuously have it because it benefits me, right? So think about a job. The job is not always great. Nobody loves their job 100%. I admit I really like my job. I will admit that. I'm being honest. I really love my job. But did I like going through all the education? Did I like the years of education, the years of residency, field placements? That part was not fun. It was hard, right? But why did I deal with that? Because I liked what it was giving me. The benefit of that, one day I'll be able to practice. One day I'll be able to do what I love to do, right? And eventually that made my life easier. I knew that this was going to make my life easier. It was worth it for me, right? And the job I chose, it gave me not just an outlet for what I love to do, but it gave me the flexibility. I'm able to own my own practice. I'm able to write books about these things. I'm able to see different lives. And so that added to my life, right? Avoidants think of relationships very similarly. A lot of insecure attachments do not, but avoidance in particular, especially leaning dismissive avoidant, they tend to think of it like this. Is this something practical? Does this add to me? Is there a benefit for my future? If there is, yes, I'm going to keep it. Typically, that's how they think. The other aspect of an individual who makes the avoidance life easier, and this one I hear so much. I almost want to say I hear this almost daily, depending on what we're talking about, but this comes up a lot with my patients. And they use this word. It's not really my word. They prefer somebody, we're still talking about who makes their life easier. They say peace over drama. Drama. I don't think it's drama, but they perceive it that way. So the way I take it is they prefer somebody who doesn't have continuous disagreements with them and who is able to let disagreements go. Sometimes learning that we can just have a good time. We don't have to pick at something all the time. Not right away, right? Sometimes just leave it be. So that's one way to make an avoidance life easier. And the last one, and these are not the only reasons, there are plenty of them. But the last one is you are able to leave things in the past and look towards the future. I cannot tell you how many times a patient who's an avoidant had told me, I can't do this because she just keeps bringing up the same thing and there's nothing that I can do. I made that mistake, but she keeps putting it in my face. She keeps bringing it up again. I don't know what to do. I had one patient, or a couple of them, but this one was the one that stuck to me. He was like sarcastically like, okay, which not good, but he was just really upset. He's like, okay, you know what? I figured out a solution. I'm going to build a time machine. He was so direct. He was like, I'm going to build a time machine and then I'm going to go back in time and fix it. I figured out the solution. And he was saying that in like a very sarcastic, very angry way because he was like, what else am I supposed to do? I've tried my best. She keeps bringing up the past. And then I was like, okay, what solution is there? You could communicate with her, whatever. And he was like, oh, you know what? I found the solution. I'm going to build a time machine. I'm going to do it. So why was he so angry? Because really, there's nothing else that he can do. He can walk away. He can deal with it. But until his partner was a she, until she makes a point to stop and just let go of the past, or at least bring it up less frequently, he's going to continue to be more and more frustrated. He's trying to manage his feelings, sure, but that's not fair. That makes his life harder. And for him, a relationship is not even worth it that much because he feels like a lot of avoidance, they don't need them. They don't need relationships. So if I want one as an avoidant will only want it if it adds to their life. So the first one is you make the avoidance life easier. That person tends to be chosen by an avoidant to be loved and committed to. And I'm not saying being loved and committed to, those people are better than the other. Everyone has a different reason why they commit. No one's better than another person. We just all have different preferences. But I'm just sharing what I typically see. I hope that makes sense. Let's go ahead and go into the next one, number 2. I'm going to try and explain this one. It's almost like, this is how I kind of word it. You let the avoidant take lead of certain timing, okay? This is way more common with avoidant men than women, but the avoidant prefers that they call the shots, so to speak, about certain timings. So whether it be commitment, whether it be when they have kids, certain things that they're afraid of because that's their trigger and they don't want it to be sprung out on them or pressure to do it when they're not ready. So this can be described as partners who are a little bit less pressuring. Does that make sense? Some patients, and I know this word is kind of a negative word, but some patients kind of describe it as they don't want somebody who nags them. You know, that might be a better way to describe it. It's very negative, but they really don't like nagging. That is so common that they don't like it. They don't like the nagging. Just something I wanted to share. I know it's a negative word, and I'm sorry for that. I just want to be honest. This doesn't mean never make a move, but it means letting the avoidant choose certain aspects of the life that trigger them, right? This doesn't mean bending over backwards either. It means learning the areas which you Maybe you can't control because you need both of them to do it and they're not ready. And so respect that they're not ready right away and let go of control and lean more into trust, right? So some of these examples, and that doesn't mean you can't bring things up. It also doesn't mean you can't reach out by text, ask for dates, or even talk about these topics, but just don't nag them about it. Don't continuously pressure. That's what avoidance, if you don't nag them and you don't pressure, you can still talk about these topics and let them know what you want. But as long as you don't pressure them, they're much more likely to open up to love and commit. So some of these topics, and it really depends on each person, but some of these topics would be intimacy in the bedroom, labeling the relationship, marriage, saying that they love you, and other aspects that include a timing component. I hope that makes sense. Doesn't mean you can't reach out. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying appreciate that sometimes you have to meet them halfway too. They might not be ready. You guys can't have a healthy marriage if you push them into getting married, right? They will do it eventually, some of them. But you have to let them get there. So that's something that's really important, okay? So very similarly to the 2 points that we were talking about, this is kind of another point that can kind of wrap some of this up. It's not the last point, but it is someone who is more flexible with compromising. Another subsection of this would be like someone who doesn't keep score, okay? So let me explain this a little bit because that's kind of hard to understand. Basically, sometimes when you really want something, you have to understand that your timing and your expectation of it might need adjusting. Sorry. And I know that's hard for some people to hear, and I know a lot of people are not going to like that, and I get it. But if your partner is an avoidant, you can't make them suddenly be secure. It doesn't work like that. And you might not be secure either. So sometimes you got to meet in the middle. So what do I mean by more flexible with compromising? Maybe you expect to be married in 3 years, maybe 5 years. Maybe you're really lenient, but you just want to know it's going to happen and the avoidant partner doesn't have an answer. Just be flexible with that because this isn't avoidant. You know that. Now, if you don't want to deal with that, you're welcome to leave. That is fine. But I'm just saying these are the people that avoidants commit to. It's usually ones that tend to be a bit more flexible with compromising because it's that lack of pressure. It's the ability to trust your partner. Avoidants really like trust and respect. To them, it feels like if you push them into something that they're not ready for, you're disrespecting them, right? There's a lack of respect. And they feel respect. A lot of avoidants feel like respect is more important than love itself. And so by you pushing and being disrespectful, they're perceiving it as you don't love them. Why are they going to commit to this if you aren't committed fully either, right? Not necessarily true, just two different perspectives. But maybe being more flexible, realizing, okay, my partner is an avoidant. So I know that labels is going to take a lot longer than my buddy and his girlfriend. They got to commit right away, but my avoidant partner, she's taking a long time, but I know she's an avoidant. This is kind of just what it is. Again, you can walk out if you want to, but I'm giving you the reality. People who are a little bit more flexible. I also mentioned like a subsection of this is someone who doesn't keep score. I'm going to be really honest with you guys. If you're with an avoidant, especially in the beginning couple of years, you're going to be compromising more. It's true. At least that's what it looks like. They're compromising a lot that you don't see because them even talking to you, I know it's shocking, but them even like talking to you and letting you in their space, in their house is compromise to them. So they are actually making a lot of little compromises, but you feel like you're making a lot of compromises as well. And you might be making more. It feels like that. It even looks like that on the outside. That's usually not the actual truth. But all that I'm saying is a person who the avoidant chooses to love doesn't keep score. Oh, I compromised 200 times in the first year and you only compromise 80 times. I don't want to compromise anymore. Now it's your turn. That's not healthy. Everybody comes from a different place. They start at a different place. They end at a different place. We don't know what's going to happen. I've seen a lot of relationships, and this is more common with more long-term couples, very long-term couples, where in the beginning of the relationship, one person compromises more, or it looks like that from the outside, from my perspective as a therapist. And then later in the relationship, let's say I see them later, I'm noticing that flipped. The other person is. Relationships kind of have these waves, and they change throughout. So it doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever. The next thing is still part of the flexible with compromising. You have less rigid rules around timing and commitment while still maintaining a sense of self-worth. Now, why did I put self-worth in there? By you understanding that it's not personal, that's already maintaining your self-worth. Your partner's an avoidant. They don't want to get married anyways. The fact that they're even talking to you is a step that they probably like you. You know that. When you have self-worth, you're like, okay, it has nothing to do with me. So I'm not going to be too pressed about it. I'm not too upset. I can be a little less rigid because I'm just dealing with someone who's an avoidant. It has nothing to do with me. It has to do with them. That's the understanding. Now, if it's too much for you, I suggest if it really is too much, you can walk away, right? That's up to you though. But if you want to make this relationship work and you feel like there's hope, having a little less rigid rules around timing and commitment might benefit you. It doesn't mean forever. It doesn't mean it's always going to be like that, but maybe just in the beginning, okay? The next one, and this was similar to the first one, but it's a little bit different because the first one we had mentioned makes their life easier, right? Makes it easier. I had mentioned a job that you like, that you also enjoy, so it makes you happy, also gives you money. Can be very similar to how a person views a relationship and avoidant, right? Makes your life easier. So this one is similar. Avoidants tend to marry, commit, love to somebody who adds to their life in a positive way. Okay? I'm going to give an example. This is based on patience of mine. I change things up. Every time I share an example, it is based on patience, but I change things up because confidentiality, okay? He works a lot. High stress job. Sometimes his health is not always on the forefront, not always the front of his priorities. His partner likes nature walks, okay? And enjoys cooking fresh food, home-cooked food. She always asks him to accompany her on her nature walks, right? So she's not nagging him. She's not saying, you gotta take care of your health. I'm worried about you. You're always eating junk food. And she's not even thinking of it like that, right? She just asks him, come on a nature walk with me after work. I'm just, stressed out. Let's go ahead and do this. And he reports, let's say he shares with me. When he's taking these nature walks, he feels more calm and less stressed. He also shared that she likes cooking, so he gets to enjoy home-cooked meals, and he stopped eating so much fast food. Sure, that makes his life easier, the first point we mentioned, but that is more than just easier. That's adding positivity. His health issues are probably decreasing. Don't you think? It really helps him. It adds to his life in a positive way. It benefits him, right? And so that's an example. Now, another one based on patient of mine, change things up. Let's say the avoidant loves making music. So, he likes to record music. It's not his full-time job. And he's not happy with his current job. But his partner encourages him to follow his dreams. He has a lot of guitars, like a big guitar collection, and he would record himself playing his guitars. But he hasn't in a while because he's just been working so much. And his office space, his work from home office space, is a lot of the work that he's doing. It has nothing to do with his hobbies. So what she did, his partner, she cleaned his office and made a space on the wall for him to hang up his guitars. And he shared with me that made him very, very happy. Because now his office space is his workspace, as well as his side hustle, as he calls it, of playing music, right? So this is where he does all of his work. Now, it depends on a lot of people. That might not work for everybody because some people don't like to put hobbies in the same workspace. But in his mind, he wants his guitars to be his like side business. Like he wants to make money off of playing music and helping other people with music. So it actually inspires him. And he has shared this many times with me and probably with her. And when she did that, it made his life easier. It made his life in a positive way, right? A little different from easier, but positive. It made him feel happy. It made him feel like he can follow his dreams. It made him realize her positivity is contagious, right? So that's something. Okay. The last one is probably pretty specific, but a lot of avoidants tell me this. Okay. It's way more common with avoidant men. I'm going to preface that because I actually have only heard like one avoidant female maybe say this. I work with more men in general though, so my sample might be a little bit biased, of course, right? I don't even know how to say this. It's someone who respects the avoidance like personal belongings. And I understand this is really specific. It's a pattern I see. And this is just, they always tell me like that is one thing they loved about their partner. And this is what they want in a partner. Some avoidants who are unpartnered, they say like, the reason why I don't want a relationship is because I feel like they're going to disrespect my belongings. So avoidants are very rigid. Sometimes they don't even like people touching their things. And they don't like when people push over that boundary. So let's say an avoidant partner or patient, he likes to keep his things like very neatly and like very structured a certain way, and he doesn't want anyone to touch it. And his partner, maybe she was cleaning the house. She made sure to not touch that area just because that he doesn't like that. Some people will not realize how important that is, and they'll just clean over it and then rearrange it a certain way, and that'll freak him out, right? And I'm not saying from a compulsive standpoint. It's more from a control standpoint. A lot of avoidants have control issues. So that's different from compulsion. That's control, right? So why I'm saying control? Because he feels like he's losing control and you're trying to suffocate him, right? It's different from he has this compulsive need to fix things. That's not what I'm saying, even though some can. Definitely, there are lots of different levels to this. But I'm just particularly saying somebody who it's not compulsion, but more so the ability of control. And I had mentioned respect is very important with avoidance. By you touching something he told you not to, you're disrespecting him, okay? The other one is taking care of his things nicely. So let's say he's trying to check. Honestly, it's more like a test, which isn't healthy. And maybe I'll make a video on how avoidants test you when they love you, because they do that. It's not healthy, but they do. Maybe he'll ask you, okay, I'm on vacation. Can you, this is the house code. The keys are here. Can you go in my house and water my plants? He's trying to see how you're going to take care of his house. If you're going to touch things, if you're going to rearrange things, if you actually are going to water his plants when he's gone on vacation. And he really wants somebody who respects his stuff. Another one is like a collection he has, or she. And instead of demanding this collection that you think is like maybe useless, and you're demanding it gets thrown out or put in the garage, that you let him have that space for his collection, that you don't touch it, that you respect it, that you appreciate it, that you even, if you mention, hey, I saw this on sale, I think it'll add to your collection. Do you want me to get it? Like you're allowing him to be more safe with his belongings, right? Having like a designated space. So that's the last one. I know that sounds strange, but it's just something, it is such a common theme. So if I did not put this in this video, I feel like I would be doing a disservice because I would feel like I'm being dishonest because I see that a lot, okay? And so let's quickly summarize. The first one is you make the avoidance life easier The next one is you let the avoidant take some lead, or you're less pressuring about timing aspects of the relationship. The next is more flexible with compromising. The fourth one adds to their life in a positive way. And fifth one respects their belongings. Okay. I hope this makes sense. I appreciate if you will subscribe, like, leave a comment below, and I will see you in the next one.